welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the GSL Team League. This is NS Hosa versus TSL. NS meaning New Star, by the way. New Star Hosa, a team that's based at an academy or a school. And TSL is Team SCB Life, started by Coach Lee, an old Brood War coach. Used to be one of the coaches of MBC Game, Brood War team, and now here he is with his team in StarCraft 2. The next map is going to be Calm Before the Storm. NS Hosa's Sculpt is going to be representing the Academy, trying to carry them to a second win, whereas Dream, a newer player, is going to be representing TSL, trying to bring it back after their star player has been defeated.
Yep, one of their star players going down. Paul in the first game didn't hold the candle to Sculpt's mech play. We had Cloud Kingdom. The next map is going to be Calm Before the Storm. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for Terran vs Protoss. We're heading into the game right now. Here we go. At the bottom left of the map, we have the player for NS Hosa in the red color. It is
NS Hosa Sculpt!
What do you suppose Sculpt means? What do you suppose Sculpt means? It's not an actual English word as far as I know. I'm trying to figure out if
that's a German word that's pronounced exactly the same way. It's not written the same way. It's like basically a sculpt.
Oh, well, here's his opponent. The team TSL on the bottom right.
TSL 3!
What does sculpt mean in German?
Well, the thingy that the Indians in the old Western movies cut off. Your hair.
Oh,
and,
scalp.
Yeah, your scalp.
Oh, okay.
Similar.
It's pronounced sculpt in German?
No, scalp.
Sculpt, okay.
But the Koreans pronounce it differently anyways.
Sculpt.
Well, anyways, it's going to be a pretty interesting game, and it's kind of nice. I mentioned earlier that I'm here with Major today, that he accompanied us. The thing is that he plays with TSL players a ton. And as soon as he heard that Dream is playing, he immediately said, okay, he's going to play on Calm Before the Storm, and he's going to throw down a Nexus first. He will start with 2-base play, will delay his 3rd base, will play with Double Forge, and then attack his opponent as soon as he's maxed on upgrades. So there's the Nexus first, nothing out of the usual on this map. But well, let's see if Major is spot on. He plays a lot with these guys, so he definitely knows what he's talking about.
Well, if he's correct, then we can just fast forward to 15 minutes from now, and when the action's gonna happen, and skip the 3 and 4 base macroing, I guess.
Skip the Calm and go right to the Storm.
That's right, man. That is the case.
Well, we have an expansion first for a Terran player as well, so Sculpt is right now using his CC at the first building. And this is something that we've seen on Calm Before the Storm so often. It's just a map that is designed to get us into the macro game, to make sure that there's no kind of shenanigans going on early on. You can play with Banshees, you can try to do some drop play into the natural, for example, but most of the time we see really long macro games, especially in Terran versus Protoss. It's a little bit different when a Terran player or a Protoss player is facing a Zerg, which is based on the fact that this map is god-awful for Zerg, so they most of the time they just try to go for some kind of all-in strategy.
Yeah. Now I'm curious if we're going to see some parting style play out of Dream and maybe go for that early 3rd Nexus, especially since he's got to know when he scouts what's going on at the enemy base that Sculpt has gone for a command center first as well, or at least an early command center. You know, are we going to see him really macro apart and go for that econ by going for a 3rd Nexus, or are we going to see him try and build up an army first?
Well, I'm going to stick with the analysis that that Major just gave me. I think that he's spot on. He played with them for quite a while, and if he knows Dream style as to be a style where the expansion, the third base, is delayed by a bit in order to get your upgrades a little bit faster, double forge play and then attack with 3-3, I think he's probably right about it. And that is definitely a map where you can pull it off. So I'm not quite sure if we see that early third base. I doubt it a little bit. But well, Scalp is definitely getting an early third command center, as you can see right now.
We saw Parting kind of, he was really greedy. I mean, he was able to get his early third and get some upgrades going. So, I don't know, we're going to have to see, of course. That is just Parting's style. We haven't seen anyone else do that too much in the same way recently, but he's going to go ahead and poke in here with a couple Stalkers and just try and see what's going on. Not surprising, excuse me, not surprising on this map to see him go for that third command server early because it's so easy for him to hold it the way this map is constructed.
Yeah, he does not need to place the command center down at the low ground immediately and take the third base. He can just use his mule, his additional mule. And, well, we have the double engineering bay before Dream starts his first forge. So right now just the transition into robotics and getting another gate up, while Dream is now obviously not really being out macroed in regards to the upgrade, but he's a little bit late with them. Scalp is trying to avoid this timing where the Protoss player has the upgrade advantage by starting a very, very early double engineering bay and +1/+1 for his Mayu.
Yeah, it's very smart thing to do to get those upgrades started earlier against Protoss. And you know, the thing is I was actually reading an article not that long ago that I believe QXC wrote, if I remember correctly. It was really cool. It was interesting analysis about how, you know, people talk about the double forge being able to be chrono boosted out, upgrades a lot faster, and it's impossible to get ahead of Protoss. But it was pointing out that there's actually a physical limitation to the chrono boost. You can only chrono boost so much. So you can't actually keep constant chrono boost on 2 forges. I guess maybe unless you have 3 Nexuses. And so if you can get your upgrades started earlier than the Protoss, then even with chrono boost, they can't catch up more than like a minute and a half total across the whole game if they're constantly chrono boosting and not chrono boosting any of their buildings. So getting those early upgrades for the Terran is actually going to put him ahead. The Protoss is actually going to have a hard time catching up since he's starting 1-1 right now, almost a full upgrade cycle later.
I have to admit that I haven't read the article, but 1 minute and a half seems to be enough when you hit your timing.
Yeah, no, it could definitely, if you're going for a timing, it could definitely mean a lot, but I'm saying it's not impossible. It's not like, you know...
No, I mean, that's exactly the reason why he built the engineering bay that early. So.
Yeah. There you go.
And we have the upgrades right now. The Twilight Council is done as well, and he's now just getting a blink, and we have only 2 Nexi, so he doesn't have the third one. He's using the chrono boost still on his upgrades, and well, we don't have the armory just yet. Actually, Scalp just
there you go.
Scalp fucked it up a bit because we just have now the armory being building. His upgrades are already done, so he has to wait ages until he can start +2/+2, and by the time Dream will already have his own +1/+1 upgrades, so that advantage that he had by building the early engineering bay is already gone.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the actual practice to that theory is, yeah, you can make sure you get ahead in upgrades, but you actually have to be able to, you have to keep that timing going that you can actually keep them up, because look, their armor's going to finish at the same time as his opponent's 1-1 instead of his 1-1, so he had the lead, he could have kept ahead on upgrades.
He forgot about
until 3-3, and he just messed that up.
That was definitely a mistake. He forgot about the armory. There's no reason to get double engineering bay if you're aiming for the macro game and not lining them up with the armory. He just forgot about it. It can happen. It's a mistake. It shouldn't, but it happened. And now we have +2/+2 for both of these players. But well, our Protoss is getting ahead, and that's basically just because of the chrono boost, obviously. So TSL Dream will have his upgrades a little bit faster than his opponent, and is now taking the late third that we already talked about.
Yeah, very much later than his opponent, that's for sure. But you're right, he is getting his upgrades going instead. He has the charge upgrade going. He's getting a robotic support base, so he can get some Colossus out in order to have some area of effect and damage, what we call AoE. Area of effect, units that damage a lot of units in an area. And those are going to be really effective against the small and often bunched up bio units that Sculp is going for. He is getting, I like the fact that Sculp is getting his...
What a bad timing for Dream to place down the Nexus. He has to cancel, he's losing a bit of money. That was a really, really bad timing. Sculp is getting very aggressive, even supply blocking Dream now. +2/+2 is not far away from finishing. Here come a bunch of scans. But, well, this was a little bit unfortunate for the TSL player.
I like the fact that Sculp is getting his upgrades for his Viking weapons before he even makes the Vikings, because he knows he's going to need those upgrades later on. And unfortunately, upgrades are, well, fortunate, I guess, for the way of the game, but there's something that takes time. You can't just be like, oh, I should have been getting those 5 minutes ago. You have to plan ahead. So it's very smart of him. He's going to have +1 for his Vikings before he actually even produces a single one.
+2/+2 is done for the Protoss now. And he's feeling losing the Immortal, exactly. Still, he's still contained. He still needs to be very, very careful about it. Charge is about to finish. Blink already done.
He's actually putting a lot of pressure here on Dream. It looks like he's pushed up against that force field. I don't know if that's a good idea. He might lose units. If any get in there, he can force field them up.
And there's the upgrade for +3/+3 already lined up for Dream. He's really getting very, very fast upgrades. Nice force field, chopping a couple of units. And he still needs to be careful. There's the Colossi. Extended thermal lens not done just yet. He's trying to get down the ramp. Nice force field, trapping some of the Terran players' army. But he's losing the Colossus.
And now the Zealots can't actually get to those units.
Oh, God. With the Colossus out of the picture, this was a horrible engagement. He needs to pay more attention to his Colossi, especially if he only has one of them. So right now, Sculp is actually pulling ahead in supply. And the late expansion is biting Dream back in the ass, because he is now just losing ground to his opponent. He's already 40 supply behind.
Yeah, and he's just now moving down into his third, and his natural expansion behind is getting majorly dropped. There is no way he's going to save that.
You've got to be kidding. That was the most horrible timing for Dream. He just moved down the ramp, and Sculp, he anticipated it. That's the blink hitting one, not even a single.
Okay.
One medivac. But still,
one medevac with 4 Marauders in it, but that was not even in exchange for his Nexus.
That's a trade I take anytime.
Yeah. Yeah, especially since he's just now getting up his another Nexus in his third location. He's going to have to rebuild that one in his back base as well. Now, at least we have had Dream keeping up with his upgrades really well, so he's actually going to finish 3-3 a little bit before our Terran player.
But it won't help him a lot, because his army is just not big enough. He is going for the Templar Archive in order to add additional tech, but he has to rebuild his natural, he has to build his third. He's on 1 mining base against 3 right now. And the Terran player is already getting a 4th. Sculp with a +3/+3 upgrade on its way. He's going to get +2 for his Vikings, and at the same time we have him adding additional starports just to have the production capabilities of getting whatever he needs, either it being Vikings or Medivacs later on.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to get out some Vikings to deal with these Colossus. Otherwise, they're just going to do too much damage. Thermal Lance is done. Ooh, that Ghost wants some blood. Nice EMP catches some of the sentries. A lot of shields off of the Zealots and Immortals as well. And now you can just kite for days. The Colossus can't get close enough to actually deal damage. Finally, they get a shot off.
Nice stutter step, very well done so far by Sculp. And here's Dream retreating, and Sculp, he just tasted blood. He wants to finish it right now. Sniping the Immortal, sniping the Archon, stutter stepping away from the Colossi. Even without the Vikings, he is dealing so much damage to his opponent. And Dream is dropping down to under 100 supply, 160 for Sculp, building more units, +3/+3 is about to hit for the Terran player. The Protoss already in possession of those upgrades, but well, what exactly can Dream do to come back into this game? It looks like he is going to lose it within the next few seconds.
Yeah, looks like the end, and those Colossus dying seal the deal. If he'd been able to keep those Colossus alive, he would have had the firepower to stop this. But instead, the reinforcements of Sculp are just too great. Here he is charging in. And remember, Sculp has a 4th base already. And TSL Dream has just barely gotten his 3rd back up again. GG coming from our TSL player. Sculp has taken out 2 players in a row.
Very impressive play by Sculp. And this is not the start in the clan war that TSL was hoping for.
Not at all. No, indeed. Sculpt definitely showing me some impressive play. You know, maybe in his Code games the other day, he really was just nervous. You know, like Arthrosis thought he might have been, and he was making those mistakes not because he was incapable, but because he was just off that day, because he is showing some really good play today. Still making a couple mistakes here and there, but Sculpt's macro is just spot on.
He played very, very well. And the decision to not only contain his opponent, but then suddenly drop into the second base was definitely what won him the game. He was already ahead at this point in time, but that sealed the deal. Right, suddenly we had our Protoss player from Team TSL on 1 mining base against 3, and this was just the nail in the coffin, so that was really a huge problem for Dream to deal with, and a very nice decision by Sculpt.
Yeah, very nicely played. And, you know, I mean, we had Dream. He went for this style of play that you were talking about earlier. He got a delayed third, tried to get upgrades, but you know what? The Terran player didn't delay his third, still got upgrades, ended up with a better economy, and just had more units.
The timing was just god-awful for Dream.
that too. He had some really good timings. He attacked right before Colossus, stopped the third. Right when he was moving out to that third, he attacked the natural and took it out. So he had some good timings that got him some advantages, definitely.
Also, the attack at the third base hit when Dream was just trying to build his third, but his army was still on the high ground, so he couldn't go down the ramp. He would have had to pass a choke point position, and with the Terran player in a position where he could just stim and kill all the units that one attack from a nice concave, he just could not move down, and then suddenly he found himself in a contained position that he just couldn't break out of. Next map is going to be Daybreak, by the way.
Yeah, and it seemed like, I guess he was just waiting for that Colossus. He was kind of scared to move out, because if he just had his army down the ramp, I think he probably could have held that, but it was questionable because he didn't actually have that Colossus out yet. So he was trying to be like, all right, well, I'll hedge my bets and I'll stay up here on the top of the ramp. Who is TSL going to send out next?
Definitely a Zerg player.
It is My Way.
My Way or the Highway.
AKA Hyun. Now, you casted his games in Code the other day, right? Well, I haven't had a chance to watch those VODs yet. How would you say he played?
He played very well in the early and mid game, and then he completely fell apart as his strategy didn't work out. He never tagged to Hive. It was a game on Tiga Shipyard, if I'm not mistaken. And he just didn't follow it up. He never got the +3/+3 upgrades. His opponent was just way ahead in those. And it was a little bit disappointing, I have to say. So now, he definitely is a really, really good player, don't get me wrong. But I'm on the same impression as people I talk to, that he is just now... He has this strategy that he wants to use in the game, and he's doing really, really well up to the point where he has to adapt. And that's something that he does not know how to do just yet. But he hasn't been playing Starcraft 2 for all that long, so that's definitely something that he will be able to do at some point. But right now, it seems like he's not able to adapt in the later stage of the game, and doesn't have the late game that you need in order to succeed. But
well, that does stand to some reason, because Hyun was actually a very, very good Brood War player. He actually switched over relatively recently. He was playing at a high level in Brood War not that long ago, and so that means, you know, the level he was able to play in Brood War means he's going to have extremely good mechanics, and so that's going to be something that definitely carries him, especially in the early and mid game, keeping up with those mechanics. But the thing is oftentimes the better Brood War players, the Brood War had been reduced to almost a science in such a way that, you know, Brood War players tend to focus on practicing their strategy and preparing for a match more than being adaptable, and preparing every possibility, preparing as much as possible. So that would make sense that, you know, if what he had prepared didn't work out, he's new to the game, like you said, he might not be able to adapt in that later game as much. But we're going to see if he can face off against Sculpt. Sculpt has shown some problems with his mechanics, and I think that's something that My Way might have an advantage over him in, just because of his background. So we're going to find out right now. Game 3 is about to begin. Can Sculpt keep up his win streak, or will Hyun shut him down?